testify, Mike.
Okay. You're so lucky. I'm so
It's
lucky.
nice to see you two together.
I know, that's right. No pictures, please.
I'll get one.
Yeah. Mary Ann's on her way up. She had to leave. Go
Yeah, I guess you were sitting
Had a
there.
call, yeah. Let's see.
This being your first,
I'll just move down.
well, because Mary Ann's coming.
I think we'll,
This is my favorite place. I know. Off camera.
I think we'll go ahead and get started. I appreciate everyone's patience. I do want to explain my absence this morning, and most of the commissioners know, but I had a call about 7:45. I had a cousin who was in a terrible accident up on Highway 64, 275. And they called me anyway. They called me, and so I got there, and it's not too hot. They took him by air to Lincoln, so we'll see what happens. But I just knocked out.
Where was the accident,
Out,
Mike? I
you know,
was,
the Shara on the way out to.
oh, geez, to
I
Fremont.
live in out there. So anyway,
Why would they take him to
Lincoln. What
Lincoln instead of?
I don't know. Was it Burns or something? I don't know.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Lincoln has the
Pretty
bridge.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, let's see here. Why don't we, first of all, I want to mention we have a copy of the open meetings law somewhere here. Remember there? Okay, good deal. Thank you, thank you. And it is open to the public. We don't have a defibrillator here, but we can run downstairs and get one if we need one again. I would like to go around the room and start with Commissioner Duda and go on around the room and introduce yourself and we'll get it started. Commissioner?
Claire Duda, County Commissioner.
Diane Wallace, IT coordinator. Kathy Allen, 911.
David Slater, Douglas County Emergency Communications Center.
Kim Bolo, Douglas County Clerk's Office. Diane Carlson, Deputy County Administrator.
Marco Simultine, County Administration.
Patrick Bloomingdale, County Administrator.
Joe Lorenz, County Finance Director. Mark Kraft, County Commissioner. PJ Morgan, County Commissioner.
Leah Baez, PIO.
Jason Cassidy, Emergency Management.
Paul Johnson, Douglas County Emergency Management Agency.
And of course, some commissioners are expecting this, but I have to do it again. Mike Boyle from the Sunshine District. Sun always shines in District Number 1. Let me just mention a couple of things why this is occurring. There are some, we've all been aware of some of the terrible tragedies. Another one that's hitting Mexico, a hurricane. We're not going to have any hurricanes here, but it appears that we're really under siege by some weather events. And while the city has a lot to do with what happens, I mean, if you see an event occur in the city, basically, of course, the city takes over and does all this, but we have emergency management, we have 911, and so I wanted to convene a group, and this is really to discuss, I think, some things that we see as problems and maybe some solutions, although I see this as the first meeting of the series. Kind of talk about what do we see as problems, and if we know of some solutions, throw those out there, and then come back in a reasonable period of time with some thoughts about how we can help matters. And I'll mention some things that have occurred to me. It's always baffled me that I can order a Lyft or an Uber, and they know wherever I am, whenever I call, 24 hours a day. And it's the technology. Of course, I've signed up for that, so I've given them permission to find me. And there's a lot of other sites that find me all the time. You know, you agree to that if you want to. And of course, we don't have that. I do have on my cell phone, I agreed to, I believe if I call 911 in an emergency, my address will come on. I'm not sure if that's what we do or not, but it indicates that on my phone service. And I wish Chris was here because he always mocks me because I have cricket. But anyway, so the cricket chirps where I am. But anyway, and I know that, I believe La Vista has this service. We can order a pizza too, but La Casa has this service where people give their addresses and so forth, and that pops up for the 911 center, but that's all voluntary. These are the sorts of things I'd like to discuss. Des Moines has a system. And then again, I think also, you hear of cell phone service being down all the time. It was down in Florida for a long time. And so people are not able to contact anybody because of so many more places have cell phone service and the landlines are not it. Chris, you just missed my reference to cricket telephone service. So you're lucky. So what I said earlier was I just want to have kind of a discussion of some of the problems that we see, emergency management as well as 911, whether it's personnel, whether it's equipment, whether it's a system, how do we work better with the citizens, all this stuff, and kind of get started off that way. And then come back, unless you have some suggestions today, come back at a later date and talk about some solutions and what it would cost and those sorts of things. One of the other things I brought up, and then I'll stop talking and ask the two directors to begin speaking and the commissioners just to indicate if you want to speak. But something else that has concerned me is that I was talking to someone else, another commissioner in another part of the country, and she was saying that they got deluged with phone calls about all sorts of things that were not emergencies, like fireworks and other things like that. And they have a system where they can apparently can transfer those calls to somebody else to get rid of them, so that only emergency calls are being handled by emergency personnel. That fireworks is not an emergency. We need to figure that out too. So I quit talking, and I'd like to ask David if you would start off with some of your concerns, whether it be staffing, money, equipment, whatever, and other things that you see that we can do to help you.
Sure, I'd just like to give you a little update of where we are on
Good.
staffing, and then I can go right to some of the things that you mentioned there
Good.
and tell you where we are, update you on like 911 call locations and stuff like that.
Good.
So, first of all, as far as our staffing, we're right now, we've been aggressively hiring as fast as we can to fill the open spots we have. We're right now down 3 people total from fully authorized staff, and one of those is our accreditation manager position. We have not been able to move on accreditation the way we want to. We've had some progress, but because the person that would be the accreditation manager still needs to be in the numbers taking calls, because our call taking is our number 1 priority. For us, our issue is getting calls answered. But our process, our plan here is to continue hiring. We have another test results that are due out here. We should be getting the names again, and we're going to try to fill those positions that are here and get totally up to speed there. And because as we've had more staff available now, we've been this aggressive hiring process since the first of the year. The agreement with the city and the county was to go ahead and try to fill all the positions you have so that you don't have any openings, which for us would also be to have some hiring for attrition. So we're going to go and we're going in that process, in that area, but I can tell you we're starting to see progress. Our 911 call answering times in the last 2 months are down by 30 and 40% reduced. And for us, that's an essential service for us. Many of these other applications we're talking about where people can call in and give you more information, all that stuff, to me, my experienced opinion is that we have to get our calls answered first. And having people wait extended amount of times for 911 to be answered is not acceptable. So our first priority is to get these calls answered within the national standards that are out there. They're not requirements, but they are established national standards. So the good news is we are moving in that direction, and we monitor our call times very, very closely, because to me, it's the most important thing we do. If we can't get people's information into the system, all the dispatches and radios and all the technology we have doesn't benefit anybody. So that's where we are on staffing. We're going to continue on with that. We hopefully have another training class in the next few months, and we'll fill that up. And then as a result of that, we should be able to get enough people that we can move ahead even further on our accreditation process. So that's our staffing issues. I've got some other things we can talk about, but I'd like to go back to what you're talking about, 911 call location. Yes, it is an issue. Yes, Uber can find me easier sometimes than your 911 center can find you, and that's because of government regulations. The federal FCC has stated that the wireless carriers do not have to provide the type of accuracy to a 911 center that they do to a commercial customer. Uber pays. Everybody pays for that location service. And for the 911 systems across the United States, I can tell you I've been doing this for years and years. It's always been the number one impediment to providing a full 911 service like people expected when they first started in 911. Everybody thought, well, as soon as we get 911, we're all set. And that has always been a problem. And then the other huge, I'll call it a downturn in our industry, has been when we went to wireless communications, where you don't have landline 911. By doing that, call location went right out the window. I can tell you we have never, I don't know in my entire experience of ever working in 911 that we were never able to not find a location of a landline hardwired phone. And that's one of the reasons I've told people that have issues with that, and why I still have at my home a landline 911 phone for that purpose, because no matter what happens, that phone's going to work. I don't have to hit a tower. I don't have to hit anything, and a lot of times if the power goes down, my landline 911 phone still works. So, that's the history of it. What happened is we kind of took some steps backward. Now, there is a glimmer of hope. The FCC a few years ago ruled that this call location, 911 call location,
Statistics in 15.
yes, it was adopted in January 29, 2015, that the wireless carriers,
In 2 years, 3
within 2 years, they had to start improving. And then within 3 years, it had to be improved, within 5, within 6. So there is an improvement. What we heard recently, back a couple months ago, is that the wireless carriers, by the end of this year, were going to have much improved location technology, very much near the same as what you could get from Uber or any of your pizza delivery. Now, I have not seen that in writing yet in Nebraska, but I have asked the Wireless 911 Board that I'm a member of for the new Next Generation 911 movement in our state to have the wireless providers in Nebraska come forth at our next meeting, which is actually this Thursday, and tell us when we're going to see in our state this location accuracy improvement. I haven't heard they're not going to attend, so I'm assuming that was on the agenda the other day yet. So I'm hoping to see that. But there was a big announcement from the wireless community group that by the end of this year that you're going to see much improved technology to include things like in-building Wi-Fi, like we have in the building. So the only thing they can't improve on so far has been a problem is the Z coordinate elevation. That's going to be that's a requirement. The FCC has said wireless providers by X date you have to provide the elevation, which people are going, well, that's silly. It's not in a building like this. I mean, if we are X and Y coordinates come out to the Civic Center, that's good, but what floor? So it could make a lot of difference. So, but that's the information I have, and I'm very hopeful, and for everyone's sake involved, not just our county and everyone, is that happens. But the time is running out for the wireless carriers on not improving their accuracy. So that's what is out there. There are some apps that are out there like Rapid SOS and all these other ones where people can sign up, and these other companies maintain that data in a database, and you can provide your own information, stuff like that, and 911 centers can subscribe to this. The problems with that, and as you're talking about this Smart 911,
That's in Des Moines.
yeah, in Des Moines, I just had some time to research it preliminarily yesterday. There is a significant cost to that, and what bothered me a little bit, and I still need to research it further, is that in contacting one of the dispatch managers from over in Polk County, said that they have had the service for 3 years now. It's voluntary on the part of people, subscribers. They have to go to a website, so you have to advertise it and say, hey, here's a website where you can go online and provide more information to 911. And that's fine, but he's told me that right now they're experiencing only about 3 to 11% of their 911 calls where people have signed up for this service and done that. In the meantime, it's going to be probably $100,000 yearly fee that a 911 center would have to pay for this service to pay this company to maintain this data and get people signed up and things like that. Plus, their information does not come in the same stream of information like a 911 call. In other words, the same screen that we see 911 information come in, it isn't. It's a separate computer system that you have to set up in your center. You'd have to buy a computer and a monitor for every workstation that you have, and we would have up to 16, 18 of these. And then that information, when your 911 call comes in, it displays like we see it on a 911 screen, but then it goes to another computer system for the display. So I'm gonna have to analyze it further, and I'll come back with more information, but the 3 to 11% is, to me, we'd have to look at is what's the value of that. I guess if it saves one person and one life, it's valuable. But I think we're gonna have to do some more research on it. But I can tell you, there's all kinds of new apps that are out there. They just keep coming down the road, where you can sign up and it's supposed to enhance your 911 location technology, et cetera, et cetera. I think the safest bet is when our wireless carriers, the big carriers like Verizon and Sprint and all these companies, improve their technology the way they should. And they're going to do that by including Wi-Fi hotspots. They're going to have more cellular access points. All those things that they're doing for, as far as I'm concerned, the commercial side, that needs to come over to the government or the political side of this. And I think that we're near that now. But our problem is when all these applications come along, there's a cost, but then if we do not have a direct interface to our computer-aided dispatch system or our 911 telephone system, there's additional cost, additional integration, and every time it's just another system that you have to maintain. And then the expectations from the public is that you have that. And I can tell you, we're averaging, I figured it just before I came here and looked at it, we're averaging 45,347 911 calls a month since the first of this month. To add another service for people, having people to check on and look at and things like that as a primary would be very difficult. Now, as a secondary system for people to check and look at when we do have location problems and things like that, it could be of some value there. But we're going to have to look at it, the cost, return. But more importantly, I'm thinking that if we are several months away or very near in the future to getting the same information over our wireless carriers, our 911 carriers, that may serve the whole purpose.
Right.
And a lot of these applications are what I'll call stopgap applications. They're valuable because as far as I'm concerned, our wireless carriers didn't provide this information as soon as they should have. That's just my opinion, not political. But that's the truth of it, and that's the reality. But if we're soon to get that information, and then that information, this enhanced 911 location information, would come right to our 911 telephone screens like we have now. We wouldn't have to buy more systems. We wouldn't have to have another system maintain and worry about, and it would come right up for the call takers immediately at one stop. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and I'm hoping to have something by the end of this year more significant from the wireless carriers, whether they're going to do that or not.
That's really good information. Are there any questions or comments?
I just asked a quick one. So if Mike Boyle wanted to have 911 when he calls with his cell today, know his address or where he is, can't do it.
It depends. If Commissioner Boyle's cell phone is operating correctly and he hits a cellular tower and it hits the database for the telephone companies, everything, and no one will tell me what the percentages of that not happening are. But I can tell you that they do happen every day up at the 911 center. No information comes in or whatever. But everybody's phone is a radio device. And if that radio signal cannot get to a cell tower, we're not going to get that information. We're not going to get that call. And then if it gets to the cell tower, if there's a problem on the with the telephone companies, the wireless providers' data connection to the database, it can come to us sometimes with no number, sometimes with the information, and sometimes with good location.
Just real quick, so with the enhancements that you think hopefully will be in place by the end of the year, will any of those require people to have the GPS location on the phone? Because a lot of time, I don't have the location on right now because it drains my battery, so I
Doesn't
turn it on
matter,
when I need
if
it.
you call 911, it's gonna be on.
So,
Yes.
so if you call 911, that'll be taken care of.
What we've been told on the technical side is that you can turn your GPS option off on your phone and it still will work.
Okay.
We'll still get it.
That's interesting. Any other questions? I wanted to ask you a couple. You were talking about, I don't know if I understood it correctly, about the volume of other calls. Are you referring to text? You talked about I think the number, of course, that was a little bit later. But maybe I misunderstood something you said, but there's a volume of calls. Are you getting texts and so forth, and what are you doing with those? Are you
We
getting
get
those now?
text to 911,
Yeah.
a small amount, and we handle them like any other 911 call process there.
So they come up on the screen and no voice, but it's,
Yes.
okay.
And our people are instructed and trained that they'll check for that.
Okay.
If they're not hearing voice, that they'll go ahead and use the process for doing text to 911. That number is small, and it hasn't grown as fast as I thought it would.
Okay.
But it works very well for the hearing or the speech impaired, and it works very well, and they're very comfortable with it, and that has been, I think, very good for that.
What about photographs? Are people sending movies or photographs or anything?
We can't receive those. If they are, we're not receiving them. But that is with next generation 911. That will be possible. Where you can, just about anything you can put on your wireless device will be able to be passed to us.
Well, let me ask you, do you need those or do you want them?
No.
I mean,
No.
what's the purpose of sending a
I,
photograph?
it just opens up a plethora of
Yeah.
problems. It's just, as Commissioner Borgeson knows, we discussed that at the Next Generation 911 meetings. I see it as the problem of this. Well, we're about, just so informational background, we're about 2 years, a year or two away from us being able to receive it through a network from the state. The state EZNet is going to be set up where people can send it to us. Then we're going to have a certain amount of different equipment to view it, post it, view it. And then we're going to have operators that are trained in this. We're talking staff, we're talking money here, technology and equipment. Then we're going to have it, what we see is, it's going to be huge, is storage of this. Because of course, public records, we have to store these. Right now we have, 3 years plus for computer-aided dispatch records and all this. The data is getting huge, but when you look at video or that kind of, the storage, it's phenomenal. Exponential storage of that, so that's one issue. And I really we're fighting hard to get enough staff to answer our 911 calls as they are now. We ask who, what, where, when, why, and how. And as soon as we get that, it gets into the system. I'm afraid that we're going to have a delay and other problems. And the problems are, you're going to may have to watch it for a while
Yeah.
to see what's going on. Okay, someone, their young child has got the phone and there's a picture of mom or dad sleeping on the couch. Are they dead, dying? Do we send 911 or not? Or here's the question, do we watch it? How long to
Yeah.
make that decision? All those things there. We're going to have our operators exposed to things they've never seen before.
Well, could I ask you, is there any way that we could, I think we ought to talk about this, that we can say we don't accept film, we don't accept video, we don't accept that?
You don't have to take,
Well, that's what we ought to do. We ought to think about legislatively, because I can't imagine smaller counties, that serve the interstate getting a text of a car burning, for 15 minutes. Of course, they don't have the volume, but that'd be a disaster for us if that film went on for 15 minutes,
and
So,
yeah, so I think there's a lot of things that they haven't been thought through
Yeah.
well enough on that, but it is gonna be an option. We don't have to do that.
Okay, well, let's not, we've got a plan, look into it, maybe Marcos, can you do a little checking on that, see if we can figure out a way to say, no, we don't do a video?
When you say an option, I mean,
Sounds
what,
like
who
we-
has that option?
The local public safety answering
So
point,
we
the
would-
911
So it's
center.
not a statutory thing, we don't, we
No.
can just say no.
No,
We don't
not
need to-
that, my
we
understanding is no.
don't need to worry about it from a
But-
legislative standpoint, we just
Okay.
need to say.
What I think is gonna happen is this, when the
Public
other
expectation.
PSAPs in the state get it, expectations are gonna be that we're gonna have it,
Yeah.
and would we have not saved lives if we would've gotten that?
No.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, I think if they get adequate information to us, I think we can defend ourselves
Yeah.
with getting movies of cars or whatever it is. And maybe a resolution of the city and the county, I don't know, do we have to declare this or not? I don't know. I mean, I think it ought to be
When the
clear.
time comes, we should make that decision.
Well, I
They-
think we should. Okay,
The first area to get it is gonna be, by county?
Buffalo County.
Buffalo County, they have a region, Old Dispatch Center, and they're gonna be the first region of the state that has expressed interest in it, and they want to do it.
videos?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Anything that comes over Next Generation, 911, yeah, anything on your wireless device, it will pass.
They need hobbies.
But I think what'll happen is it'll give us a chance to see it. At one time, they were after our county to see if we wanted to do it, and we expressed, no, don't be in a rush to get us. And besides that, we've got a transition to a new 911 center coming, we're gonna have enough technical issues. We don't need to bring on
Right.
that right at that time, but
Okay.
I think we'll be able to see what the impact is. But I'm afraid is the public expectations are, we should have that.
Well, there's a lot of things, we don't have mountains either, so. Commissioner Kraft?
Regarding the new 911 center,
Right.
when do we expect to transition to?
I've been told that the end of January would be when they're looking that we could start installing some equipment there. Not move the center yet, but start installing our radio consoles and things like that. Preliminary wiring, networking, there's a lot of cabling and wiring that has to be done. And that's when I've been told. Now, I haven't heard any more different since then. So we're waiting for a confirmation of that. We have, some of my other notes here, we have bid and awarded a bid for the radio consoles for the equipment, so that's all done and taken care of. So we're ready, but we're kind of holding off on our transition planning. There's several ways that our transition can occur. We can use the backup site here at the Civic Center during part of it, all of it, some of it. We can transition over slowly, just bring up fire dispatch over the new center first and try that and work it out. But it kind of depends on what the timing is and the transition.
Okay.
Sort of, there's several options out there, but that's what we have to plan on right now.
When the time's appropriate, we'll be in touch to come out at your invitation, come out and do a tour when it's appropriate. You let us know.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Let's see, that was my next question, that's good. So, I think, is there anything else we ought to be discussing? I know we talked a little bit about 311, but that's really quite a big procedure. Chicago has one, Omaha's, the cities looked at it and they turned it down because of cost, I think. I'm kind of fascinated because we have 211 but not 311, so I don't know how we got that without, I don't know how that happened. United Way was behind it, I think. Okay, well, I think we're all set. We'll come back and I think after we'll review the minutes of the meeting, see what was really discussed here, and we will be sending things out to everyone to kind of pique their interest and see if there's any other questions about how we solve some of the problems of finding people when they call and what we can do. That's great news about the cell phone people. I hope they finally do it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would just encourage everybody, if you have questions, concern, call.
Okay.
I mean, we recently had one with a,
Well,
issue.
what it was, real quickly, Tomlinson Woods is a gated community.
Right.
And you have a number, the fire department has the number, those knock boxes that are at the gates, all the firemen, fire trucks, the rescue, they do not have a key to get into those knock boxes. the only people that have them are the district chiefs or something like that, and they're not at every station. So the problem is if that neighbor calls and this happened, and you listened and checked it out, during the night, unfortunately, a person's wife had a heart attack and it was fatal, but called the fire department. The gentleman couldn't remember the number. It was 91. I think it's 93. They're at the gate, couldn't get through.
Oh, God.
And if you said, well, crash the gate like they do down at Mastercraft, well, you don't tear down a wall. This would probably knock a wall in and everything else. He didn't think of the number 9292. They change it every year. Well, now what's happened, I had sent Dave the directory, and you worked hard to get this all handled.
Kathy did a lot of that.
Catherine.
Wow.
It automatically will show that that's a gated community, that address. And that way they can immediately know the number to get in, and we give it to them each year, and it's set. But before that, by the address, you wouldn't even know if it's a gated community or not. And that's a problem. And there's a lot of gated communities out there, or gates.
Yeah.
So Dave, staff, Catherine, most helpful. We appreciate it a lot, what you did.
And if you just, that's an example, if you hear situations like that, give us a call, because they're gonna evolve over time. All these things are gonna, these situations are gonna come to light. Let us know and see if we can do something about it.
I've got a question about, because Ann and I have lived in condos for quite a few years now, and the last one, PJ was our manager and did a great job. But one of the things we did was that, his suggestion was that we put in a code to the firefighters to be able to get in. And we did have someone who had a heart attack, and the guy fell out of there, but we don't change it, so.
Yeah, but the problem is,
Yeah.
they have different firefighters coming on during a vacation time, and they don't have the numbers. Not like your glove box, hey, keep the number right in there. They're driving a different vehicle or whatever. And that's
Well,
a real problem.
Don't they have it in the fire trucks or anything, or any reference, or anything? They don't, that's kind of strange.
We put it on premise information at 911 for both police
Oh,
and
So you
fire.
tell them
So we tell them when we dispatch it.
what the code is?
But,
I
well,
see.
we won't tell them over the air. We'll
Oh.
type it to them.
Okay.
So that not everybody has your gate code.
What do you think, condos ought to be telling you the same thing, because that, fire departments, if they pull up to, like where we live now down in Soma, there's a code to get in the door, but it's not, there's no emergency code that I know of.
And if the condos will get a hold of us, or
Okay.
the organization get a hold of us, we'll put it right into our computer-aided
Okay.
dispatch system.
Yeah, if that door's locked and there's a code to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great part of the complex.
2480, you know,
Right.
they could give you that number, and then they got
Absolutely.
it to get in.
Particularly when there are people over 17 living there. Anyway, okay, well, that's great. Well, I appreciate the report, and we'll continue talking about this.
Okay.
We'll be back in maybe a month or so, see how it works, maybe not a month, but we'll get together.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All
Good-
right.
Good report. Any other questions or comments?
No, great.
Was it something you said to Mary Ann while she left? Did you say?
No, she's gonna
Anyway.
call you.
She didn't like the chairperson.
I figured that. And if you folks want to stay, you're welcome to stay, but if you need to leave, we certainly
Okay.
understand.
If we're fine, we always have something to do.
All right, well, I know you do, and
Okay.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
for what you do.
David, thanks a lot. You did great work.
Very good.
Thank you. We'll be in touch, okay?
Yes.
Thanks. Do you have a way to get out of the building? Do you have parking or not?
Yeah, we gotta have a gate key.
Oh, why don't you stop by LC and get a pass.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, thanks.
I get a key.
Oh, they have a key?
A spot.
Take it
Oh, they
downstairs.
do? I didn't know that. I was checking to see if he had to get out of the public parking. And I actually reversed that because I knew he had to do some stuff. So we have a emergency management update that I'm very interested in as well. We have, this is the guy that sets off the sirens on Wednesday. And,
The noise.
wakes us all up. No, I'm just kidding. Why don't you just go ahead and begin to give us an update in whatever order you feel comfortable with?
Well,
Have an agenda here.
I've got two things I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, sirens, okay.
Talking about sirens, first of all. Our siren, the siren system is in a couple parts. One part is just the activation of the sirens, the activation system, and the other one is, of course, the siren that's in the field that actually receives the radio signal and goes off and makes the noise. Well, we're at a point where the siren system itself, the activation system, needs an update. And it needs an update and an upgrade. We are on first generation software that isn't supported anymore. And the system that was installed back then was actually installed with the use of a phone line. And the phone line systems are outdated and we can't get equipment to replace them anymore. So everything's gone IT and internet, and that's where we're at. We're at a point where we need to convert and get with the 20th century, I guess, on this. With the new move to the 911 center, this even underscores what we've got to do there. We've got a radio in the shack below the tower at 156th and Maple that is a vintage radio, and it's about the size of a dehumidifier sitting on the ground. And if you know anything about all this software or these radios anymore, the hardware, they're pizza boxes. They're very small and solid state and sub-date, no more tubes, that kind of thing. So we've got the time is now that we really need to make some upgrades to the sirens, to the annunciation system. Furthermore, we're going to increase the integrity of the system so that the system cannot be hacked. And of course, that's another change that everybody is strongly recommending, is that based on where we are in this world today, that we do that. And we've got sirens themselves, when the software that we have is not able to detect malfunctions. So that we send a maintenance crew out there to check the siren to see what's wrong with the siren. With the new software, the diagnostics are increased tremendously, so that we can actually tell from afar, hey, is it just a door open, or is there a battery, or is there a radio signal failure? What type of situation do we have out there? And that would be very advantageous to us and be very cost effective, actually. So we've got a variety of things that are confronting us, and so anyway, I'm here to talk to you based on what I know so far, and I do get information on this frequently from our vendor about the siren system itself and the cost to upgrade it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, do communities around the country still use sirens? How many of them do?
Yeah, they use sirens. I don't know how many use sirens, but they're, especially in the tornado belt here, you'll see most communities of any size have sirens, certainly. I think, in fact, I know this, there are communities that have had severe weather. If they've had tornadoes, one of the first things they do is add more sirens. And so the sirens are there. It is a situation where we're at a point where our public we know relies on sirens, and they consider them of high value, and that's where we're at.
Well, is there, for some reason, I thought we were talking about some years ago, Mary Ann and I were, quite a few years ago, we talked with you about using a telephone system to warn people if you're in southwest Omaha, you use a zip code or some kind of thing to contact, take it if you need to. Okay. Anyway, that you can contact people regionally by about bad weather impeding. Can't you do that, or somebody, the weather service, or somebody?
I think there is a future somewhere down the line where you've got that kind of technology, and it's at a point where it's reliable enough that people receive it. I think at this point in time, people are not receiving those types of warnings and through that technology in a reliable and frequent enough way. And I think that when that day comes, I think that you're going to see a shift in people's attitudes and reliance, but we're just not there right now.
Mark?
I get Amber Woods when
cell phone.
And the president just sent one too.
Yeah, the president, personally, I think he was. But, my wife gets Amber Alerts, and so do my kids.
Right.
So why can't we do something
Well,
We talked about it years ago.
We have some alert systems that require you to have the GPS, you have to download the app, and you have to have the GPS location turned on your phone in order for it to work. So what's the name of the first alert system that we have already you can download now?
well, you can download Ping 4,
Ping
which
4.
is an app. There's lots of apps out there
Right.
that you know, people download the apps. You know, I was very interested in what he's saying, because he said in Des Moines, I think he said 3 to 11%. That's when it came, you know, when we rolled out Ping 4 a couple years ago, that's the same acceptance that we got. Those are called enrollment systems. That enrollment was about the same for us.
See, the
That
deal
3%,
with-
5%.
Yeah, but I didn't enroll for anything.
Well,
with
Amber,
Amber Alerts.
No, I get that. You know, the Amber Alerts are, you know, they actually come out from the State Patrol, but that's the way they come. They have that system. I think that,
Well, why can't we have that?
Yeah.
well, I would say this, at the end of 2019, November of 2019, there's going to be an enhanced capability that I think will help with that. And so when I say that, right now, that system doesn't allow for more than, and it won't be a phone call, it'll be a text, but it doesn't allow for more than 90 characters, and you can't say much with 90 characters, that includes spaces, and so that's all gonna get changed in November of 2019. So I think November of 2019, there's gonna be some changes that really reflect what Dave was kinda talking about a little bit. But, you know, the jury's still out whether or not that's gonna be functional here.
Well, I think the deal is too that, I mean, I agree with this, there needs to be another way to do this, and I'm not sure, first of all, one of the questions I'm gonna ask you about, what do we have for coverage of sirens, because I know we've had disputes with who gets to pay for them, and we don't want to. So, I mean, I think we need to move on to different technology, and, you know, it's just like with Des Moines, if people are only signing up 3 to 11%, if they're only signing up whatever it's 2% with ping pong or whatever it's Ping 4, the deal is that it's our responsibility. If I don't want to know when a tornado's coming, then, I mean, go ahead, just go bowling all day, you know. When the sky turns black, just go on outside and mow the grass, you know, if you're nutty enough. But I mean, seriously, people have a responsibility. I mean, the way I look at these sirens is kind of nanny government, you know, we're
you sound like
taking
a
care
good
of everybody.
Republican.
Huh?
You sound like a good
Well,
Republican.
I'm not a good, there's no such thing.
Anyway, there you go.
I might sound a little bit like a Nazi a little at times, but anyway, hope not. But anyway, so I guess I'm saying is maybe we need to adopt some of this new technology, and people just need to let go of some of this stuff. We don't have sirens everywhere they need to be, for starters, and what about a liability of that? You know, the siren sound, and I didn't hear the siren, well, because there isn't one, you know. And so I don't know, we can go into a whole conversation about the fights we've had with SIDs, who pays. And the other thing is, I mean, I think we need to be asking the State Patrol if they would add us onto this system that gives Amber Alerts, and say, you know, weather alert or something, and then say, you know, Duck, there's a tornado 2 blocks from you or something. I mean, there's ways that it can be done, and I think we need to search them out before we put any more money into sirens, frankly.
The weather warnings through that system, that's a federal system, so we don't control that locally.
Yeah.
So that's.
I was talking about the Amber Alerts.
Well, the Amber Alerts are really a federal system too. It's just that they're the authorized sender of an Amber Alert.
Okay.
And they're not authorized to send any other type of alert.
Well, we have to
through
get them
but-
approved, authorized, you know, to do other things. You sound like a real good bureaucrat, you know. But anyway,
Yeah,
no,
I know.
we need to think outside the box and try to come up with ways to use existing systems, as Commissioner Kraft suggested. You know, it's there, and the other thing is if you don't use the Amber Alert type of system where it happens, I think that people have a responsibility to sign up for ourselves. I mean, if you don't, I have weather alerts from all sorts of places and all kinds of things, you know, and I just think it's our responsibility to do it. I don't wait for a siren to sound.
Well,
You know, Claire.
As usual, Mike, you're wrong.
That was my line.
We've already made the investment in the warning, and people do have an expectation that their warning siren is going to go off to alert them. And if we need to upgrade them now to keep them functional, I think we have to do that. I agree that there's new technologies coming that are going to be an improvement, but here and now, if you got a siren next to you, you expect that siren to be going off if there's bad weather. And for
Well-
us to walk away from that.
Well, it's a lot of education that goes into it. I mean, a lot of things have changed. And should we, I don't know what the cost is, we'll hear it later, I'm sure, but I don't think it's gonna be inexpensive to do
I'm
that.
sure you're
And I
right.
think the other thing is that, I don't know, I don't remember if we ever resolved the arguments with the SIDs of who gets to pay to put one in, and
When was the last time we bought a siren? I mean, I don't
That's
think.
what I mean.
Well, and it's been years.
Yeah.
Because it has been resolved.
and so a lot
And
of people.
SID knows when they're being created, whose
Oh, okay.
responsibility it is to build.
I'm
one.
just curious how much of the county is not covered by a siren populated area.
You know, populated wise, very few. I mean, we've got we don't really have too many developments that aren't covered by a siren.
Okay, why don't you get us a map, do you have a map of it?
Yeah, it's,
Okay, why don't you send that to us, send it to,
in fact, you can look at that map, Mike Schonlau retains that, you know, on
Okay.
GIS, and so, you can
is it a
look
big
at that.
thing?
Well, not really, you can see it on the screen and you can move it around, see what's covered, and what isn't. I mean, they're little circles about
Well,
what's.
we'll have them come up and put it on here would you get that arranged for our next meeting? That'd be great. But anyway, and then, so you need to get us some costs on these sirens, and
No, I've got some costs for
I
it.
know you do. Why don't you let Joe know? Pass them on. Okay?
It's
See
only
what
money,
happens.
Joe.
That's only money, that's right. Claire will vote for it. Anyway, okay, and then, the next item is a proposed approach to a scenario-based tabletop case study exercise. Who does that involve?
Well, you know, based on what Commissioner Rogers had at the last meeting, you know, he talked about having a tabletop. And what I want to propose here is something a little bit different. I'd like some time with the commissioners down in the EOC. Somebody mentioned about taking a tour of the EOC. I'd like to show them some of the things that have changed down in the EOC and the way we do things there. And just kind of a little dog and pony or show and tell, you know, about how we organize and things that will run during a community emergency or natural disaster. Then based on that, follow that up with a good discussion, but it's a facilitated discussion with the tabletop exercise. So you can see how our EOC runs, how our system works, and then see it in a more of a practical application with other community stakeholders, not just yourselves as commissioners. So, commissioners down in the EOC, we get a chance to talk to you and show you some things about what we're doing, and then on that follow-up, be able to have that more of a stakeholder-wide session.
When I was in the mayor's office, we had a couple of those unannounced. I went downstairs to the big room and all that sort of stuff. Is that the room you're talking about, or something else?
No, that's the room I'm talking about for.
The EOC, the big thing
Yeah,
with, you
yeah.
know, okay. And I don't think that's been done in 30 years. So, anyway, I mean, I think it's okay, but the city usually, this is what I was kind of baffled about when you said that, because the city is really the one, I mean, we had an October snowstorm, okay? And I remember, I think that was I'm not sure, but I remember Hal stood on the street corner, a caddy corner, out in front of the Service Life building, and had a news conference, and kind of like Alexander Habe, I'm in charge here. And he didn't declare anything. He said, I'm doing it. My wife and I have got this figured out. So anyway, they did it on their kitchen table, I guess. They figured out how many trees were going to get cut down. It's pretty bizarre. So I don't know if we're in charge of that. You know?
The city always has
I don't
that
think we're-
option.
Yep.
Well, it's not an option. They're in charge.
Yeah.
Don't have to ask them.
Well,
Too bad Mary Ann's not here. I mean, they just take over. So I mean, I'm really wondering.
well, they did for that instance, and they have for maybe a couple other ones, but there are instances where they give us a call,
Yeah.
and you know, there's,
Well, they should.
yeah, and they give us a call, and they want the EOC activated, and so we do that. In other words, we set it up, and it's only a small incident sometimes, and so we'll have key people there, but we set up unified command, and we perform, you know, for the 2011 flood and all those kinds of things. But you're hitting the nail on the head in one respect, and that is, it's primarily the city resources that are responding.
Yeah.
It's the city who's shelling out all the assets, all the money and everything else to respond to this. There are times when county assets do get involved. And what we're trying to do then is on kind of that follow-up period that I was talking about, tell you the type of situations where the county would be more involved. than the city. But I mean, right now, predominantly, their city responses to city incidents. And when I say city, that includes us, all right? But I'm just saying it's city assets.
Okay, well, when would the county, when would the county be involved over the city? I mean, the
Well-
river, of course, is in the city limits too, isn't it? Or, I mean.
Well, Elkhorn, all the way
Yeah.
along to Elkhorn and,
That's the county,
yeah,
Okay.
and mass illness, all right? So we've had,
mass illness.
yeah, we've had
Like what?
that, like either the
Ebola or something?
Ebola threat
Oh,
or
okay.
the H1N1, all that kind of stuff. So we set up command for that.
What's the health department do about that?
She's the chair of the Unified Command. Claudia, Dr. Ford,
Okay, and are there city people involved in that?
yes.
Okay.
Police, fire,
See, I guess that's what I'm driving at, it's more about, it really is a joint kind of effort, so when you said that, are the city people gonna be involved in this? The mayor,
Oh, yeah.
the city council, anybody?
well, for what this would be, we'll give them the option, but typically, what happens is, in this type of thing, you want the people that are the real decision makers for the incident, and that's the command staff, and
Wasn't that the city?
well, the elected,
Not all incidents are in the city, though.
Well,
The
I-
city's only about a third of the county.
Okay, but what kind of incidents, I mean,
well,
where would the county be responsible for, I mean, a flood on the Elkhorn, or, okay, and the city wouldn't be involved in that?
no, not unless we request those assets, and
Okay.
we haven't.
All right, and then, I mean, a big snowstorm and stuff would be the city, wouldn't it? I mean,
Predominantly in the city,
Okay.
but, you could have power outage out in rural.
Oh, sure.
stuff.
A train derailment by Waterloo.
yeah,
The city might not have anything to do with that.
okay, all right, well, sure. Okay, but I was just trying to get how, I'm just trying to get this in my head about I mean, I understand, it seems like there's two departments doing some stuff here too, and what we ought to be doing is
More than two.
just trying to figure out, yeah,
It's,
what's going on.
it's one cohesive command, all right? So it doesn't matter if it's a unified command of city and county players that respond to the incident.
And
What's-
who's in charge?
The incident commander.
Okay.
And
Does
instant-
anybody tell Stothard that? Never mind.
The electeds are not supposed to
care
be the
if it's on
instant
the tape.
commanders.
What's that?
The electeds are not
Well,
supposed to be instant
I know,
commanders.
I'm not
so-
supposed to, but that's not how life is sometimes. Well, I think we ought to proceed with this and this, go ahead and do this, the visit and the discussion and do the other stuff, the study and the exercise. Mark?
I need to go,
Okay.
I'd like to backtrack. What is the estimated cost of updating our siren system?
Well,
Now we get the sticker shock.
we're looking at close to 150,000. Now, of that 150, I've got some money in reserve for that. So I knew this was coming down the line,
So what does some money mean?
60. So that leaves about 90,000 out there. And that, we can't do the whole system in 1 year anyway. So that would be in 3-year increments of about $30,000. So it'd be 30,000, about 31,000 over 3 years. That's the best estimate I have today.
Can I make a comment?
Joe, write him a check.
So it's just a comment on that, because we have been trying to leverage the old system and kind of putting off this upgrade. It's kind of like we got by spending less those years, and so now it's time to do this upgrade, which will position us for the future, and so we didn't pay then, those savings basically help us pay for the future. Paul and his staff are trying to use some of these new apps. One of the things is like the Nextdoor application that people do subscribe to, but I know I've seen EMA push out updates to tell everybody, oh, we're doing a siren test or various things. So there is some of that, trying to improve and use social media, but we kind of have to get through a transition before we can walk away from what we currently have. It's kind of like if you're out in the yard, you always carry your cell phone with you. If you're out in the yard gardening or playing with the kids and the clouds come in, right, maybe you have your cell phone with you, maybe you don't. And so if you are only dependent on that cell phone, you might really need the sirens, right? It's kind of best from bringing various tools to the table.
Not all of us have a cell phone in our hand 24/7.
Right, yeah. So maybe you do have those apps, social media, those things, and that's helpful if you are sitting right there with your cell phone, but there might be other times when you don't have it, and you really do depend or expect the siren to go off. So just a couple of comments.
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think, Leah is the poobah in charge of social, she's the expert in charge of social media too, so this would be something that you could do with that next door thing. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Get that out, the word out, whatever, getting this out about the sirens and so forth, and maybe some other things that are coming up. But, yeah, and I think I don't have a problem proceeding with that, and frankly, I should say this while you're in the room, but I think that's a pretty reasonable figure.
We thought the sticker shock would be greater.
Well, there's some fine print.
Okay. We weren't shocked enough, so.
Okay, Joe, write this down. Add some zeros.
One of the things that we've looked at is having a backup system at the health center. So that for some reason, if the sirens don't go off at 911, they can be set off by 911 going through the health center. And the health center already has a tower, they've got the antenna, I mean, we've had a system out there for years. It's just a matter of updating that. And so that backup system would be $50,000 to get that going. So, we have used that in the past, I might add that. We had,
Really?
yeah, we had well, it was on a test on a Saturday, back in the old days, where, for some reason, the 911 system didn't go off, and so no problem, we set it off using the 41st and Pierce antenna.
Okay.
So, that, it did work, it has worked. We always test it once a year, but we're not able to do that now. We need, because of that, again, it works off a phone line, and that tone generator is a bad tone generator, and it's outdated, you can't get it anymore, blah, blah, blah. So, but to have that backup system, I think, offers community resiliency that we don't have. And we've talked to other communities, Sedgwick has one, has a similar system down in Wichita. So, it's a redundant thing for $50,000, but it's there, and we've had it in the past,
No.
and we've actually used it on the test.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I'm also curious, maybe none of you do this, but I said, when I watch these disasters in Florida and everywhere else occurring, and I really wonder, how does that apply to us? Now, we're not gonna have these hurricanes, we certainly have a tornado, but some of the things those folks go through with just getting water and all these things, and I don't know, is the city in charge of that, or are you in charge of that? Basic food, diapers for kids, and I just wonder, are we ready to do that sort of stuff? I don't know. Are we the ones who do it?
Good question. What we have in place, and what most communities try to get in place, but we've really pushed that, and that's called a COAD, a Community Organization Active in Disaster. And we just had a meeting here the other day where the COAD membership, what you're talking about is not so much on the response side of the house, but on the recovery side of the house. And so we have different nonprofit organizations that step up, that's their job, where they step up and assist a community in a recovery process, and that's what that's about. So we've been talking response all morning, or all afternoon, but the recovery process is big, and that's just what you brought up, the sheltering, the food. There's even long-term care where I shouldn't say that because long-term care means something else, but there's, for people in the long term in the recovery process, there's a case file opened up, and whether it be Health and Human Services or whatever, that those case files are opened up, and people are provided assistance to those case files through that process.
During this,
That's what's happening down there too.
yeah,
And
during all this hurricane stuff in Florida, there was a report that the damage in New Jersey from Hurricane Sandy is still not resolved. I'm going, God, wouldn't you hate to be there?
Doesn't
after
surprise
10
me a
years?
bit.
Well, I mean, and that sort of stuff that's the federal government and housing stuff and all sorts of crazy things, but man, that is just awful. It's just terrible. But anyway, okay, well, what do you want to discuss now, getting us to that point?
Well, what I'd like to do is submit some dates.
Okay.
And so if all the commissioners can kind of take a look at dates now, I'm willing to meet with you down in the EOC as a group or one-on-one, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you have time availability for, if you just fit in, and if, and if again, if it doesn't fit into your schedule or whatever it is, I understand, but I'm just trying to
Okay,
get
well,
people down there.
Karen will be the one, send her a list of what you think you'd like to do, and then she can pass it out to us and see what works.
Thank you.
Karen Cole,
Thank you very
yeah.
much.
And kind of a description of what it is you want us to do, if we have to, you know, wear swimsuits or whatever it is, you know. They're gonna get wet, bring boots. Well, I think it's really important, I mean, my sense of humor is kind of strange, so I'm not making light of what you do, Paul. Believe me, I know I sound kind of.
Try to.
Yeah, I try to. My bad jokes, he's the one that laughs at them, and he laughs so loud, I love it. Anyway. Okay, well, are there any questions of Paul, or? All right, well, listen, I really appreciate this. Again, I want to reconvene everybody, kind of think about some things that are occurring, and the information we've gotten today, I think, is helpful. And we'll look at the transcription of the minutes and see what we ought to be doing next, so. But I do appreciate your help today and coming, this is really important stuff. So, we are adjourned.
Very good.